Right now on Tech Radio, air today, gone tomorrow.
Hi, I'm Artemis. I am a computer-generated AI voice, and you're listening to Tech Radio.
Every week online and on air with RT Radio, we bring you the latest in tech from Ireland and the world. You're welcome to episode 1093, looking at the biggest stories of the week, including have we already seen the end of the iPhone Air, the end of the AI bubble, and the end of AI manners. Plus, we talk how colleges can embrace AI instead of being afraid of it with our guest, Dr Hazel Farrell from SETU.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
I'm Dusty. Joining me as always, our editor-in-chief, Niall Kitson. Niall, it used to be Black Friday. Now it's Black Friday week, and it's starting on Thursday, which is ridiculous.
A week early?
It's starting a week before Thanksgiving. It's getting ridiculous. Have you made your list?
I've checked it twice. No, because we talked about Black Friday a good few times on the show over the years.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
The pricing model is always, release a product for X, discount it in the middle of the year, return it to the original price, then discount it on Black Friday.
Well, I'm keeping an eye on lots of different things on Amazon, and I will be buying like a crazy man for Black Friday if the bargains are good. But if they're just kind of at the regular price, and I have found stuff that is on my list just stays at the price. It's very rarely that I get bargains on various things. Anyway, we wait and see. One thing I know that we won't be buying, and that is quite possibly the iPhone Air. In the news this week, tell me why.
One thing we definitely will not be buying is the iPhone Air 2. Because it's not going to happen. Apple have removed it from their product schedule. And I can sort of see why. I can sort of see it making a return in a couple of years' time. Because I don't think there's anything particularly obnoxious about the idea behind it, something that's, slim and comfortable and maybe slightly lower spec. But, lower spec things are generally more affordable price-wise. Apple, I think, made the error this time of having something that was light and pleasant to use, but it wasn't affordable, I think it's fair to say. It was, 1,200 euros?
Well, firstly, yeah, you're right. It's slimmer and it's not as good. So the camera is one thing. Optical zoom on cameras is an absolute must for me. I don't think it has any optical zoom, or the zoom is no good. The phone runs very hot. The battery is not as good and all that. And as you say, it's €1,239. Okay, so but whatever about that price, when you compare it, for an extra €100, you can have the iPhone Pro.
Yeah.
So why would you go for a substandard model where for an extra €100 you're jumping up like 4 steps?
Yeah, that's the issue right there. I mean, when Apple came out with the SE models for the iPhone, you could understand it. I mean, they were filling a sort of an issue in the price bracketing for iPhones. So you get the idea of, okay, it's going to be cheaper. That's fine. Get people into that ecosystem early. This didn't really seem to be filling those problems. But the reason I think Apple will come back to it is for the same reason that Apple dropped the MacBook, if you remember the MacBook, that middle child, but that the MacBook Air became super popular, even though at the time the market was all about netbooks. That Apple stuck to their guns. They realized they had a good product that worked well, and eventually everyone else caught on. I mean, the MacBook Air is Apple's most popular laptop at the moment.
Yeah. I disagree. I disagree on the phone side of things, though, because I mean, what you're saying about the laptop is correct. Because when the Air came out, it was that the one that Steve Jobs pulled out of an A4 envelope?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and everyone kind of went, "Are you mad? Like we all want small and tiny laptops at the moment. You've just given us, a well-made regular laptop."
No, I don't think so. I think people were very, very impressed. Now I'm going back. This is going back years and years and years.
Yeah.
But from what I remember, the two things about it was so slim, and compared to a regular, fully spec laptop, it was very light. And it was like a regular, not a netbook, not kind of some kind of a severely restricted laptop. I'm choosing my words there.
All on that hype train. We
were absolutely all. But that's what I'm saying. It actually had something where you went, wow. Apple came out this year with the iPhone Air, and everybody kind of, yeah, nice. Whatever. There was no big thing about it. And I think it was the same with the Galaxy with Samsung, because they had their S26 Edge.
Yeah.
And I believe they've cancelled it because of just lack of interest.
Okay. That is interesting. And on one level, you can't account for what's going to catch on with people. But on another, like these are two devices that are kind of funky that you would imagine would find purchase with a young audience. But I guess the price point was just too high.
I think there's two things. It's not solving any particular problem.
Yeah.
All right. It's just a slimmer version of something that I carry in my pocket. I still carry in my pocket. It's not going to make my pocket any lighter, noticeably, or anything like that. So it's not solving a problem, and it's too darn expensive.
Do you know what would have sold more phones?
What?
If they put Pro on the end of it.
Also in Apple news this week, rumors are that Tim Apple,
yep,
is going next year. Then he's going to retire. That's it. He's gone.
Well, very few people get to clock out on top. It's quite a remarkable achievement in any sort of competitive field in sports and business and anything. He is leaving behind a company that's in very good shape, that's very profitable, that has excellent brand recognition around the world. Very few people get to say that. Very few. So I think Tim Cook's tenure as the head of Apple will be looked upon, I'm not going to say fondly, but with great respect, because, you inherit the position, from Steve Jobs, a tech visionary, there's no following that. But what you can be is a safe pair of hands that will make sure everybody has a job, that will make sure shareholders get some return on their investment. And he did both of those things.
Yeah, so very much so.
I think Tim Cook I'm not going to make any sort of mention of his politics to the Trump administration.
Continue.
I think, I think it's a good move. What I'm interested to see is how Apple sort of manage his absence. Is it going to be a case of we'll get somebody like Craig Federini and promote him?
Can you imagine Craig at the very top?
Well, he does have excellent hair. That's a big chunk of it. And or will they look for somebody, outside? Now, the last time Apple looked for somebody outside, it didn't work out very well. You might remember. So, yeah, my money is on an internal hire, but officially, from what we can tell in reports, there isn't a process in place. So that's
we should wait and see. I don't think anything's going to happen before their earnings report, which comes out in January anyway, which makes sense. And listen, last little bit on Apple stuff. And this is just something that kind of, that sounds nice, especially if you're a programmer or you like really, really, really powerful computers. When macOS Tahoe, the next update comes out, that'll make it 26.2. You will be able to chain a number of Macs together to make a supercomputer with up to 4 of them running M4 chips. Can you imagine?
Do you know what? I think it's very interesting that this news came out pretty much the same week, within mere days of Apple announcing that they were getting rid of the Mac Studio. It is the Mac Studio.
I hadn't heard they were getting rid of the studio, but it doesn't surprise me because it's like, no. If you're going to spend 10 grand on a computer, do you really want it to look like a matchbox? Anyways,
so it's Apple getting rid of another high-profile product. It's not the studio.
Yeah, the studio wasn't high-profile though. The studio was kind of like
Pro. It's the Mac Pro they're getting rid of. My God, just fire me, Dusty. It's the Mac Pro they're getting rid of.
So you're not the editor-in-chief. You're just the journalist extraordinaire for today.
That's it. I'll be downgraded. But yeah, I mean, it's that cheese grater design. But for years, you have followed that device and gone, that dustbin-looking thing. I want one of those.
The trash can. It was terrible. Yes, I wanted one of those, but there was no way I was paying any money, and I thought it'd look good. But it became apparent fairly quickly that it really was a trash can.
Well, it had huge thermal issues, which is not good when you're working. No. When you've got heavy workloads. Replaced by the cheese grater design. You were interested in that for a bit.
Yeah. I like the cheese grater design, but at this stage, it's kind of like, that was a nice memory. Do you know what I did pick up? And because I just can't resist a bargain. They're doing a really good bargain over in Select Tech at the moment. Oh. I think it's $799 for a MacBook Air with an M2 processor, but with 16 gigs of RAM, which makes it a very, very nice little unit altogether. And it's almost half the price of, what a regular MacBook Air. So I got one.
Oh, very good.
And then I compare, the first thing I did when I took it out of the box was I went, God, that's really heavy. This is for a MacBook Air because my laptop before that, or the one I still have, is the Samsung Galaxy Book 3.
Oh, you're a huge fan of that.
And I still love it. I still love it. The only thing about the MacBook or the Galaxy Book 3 is that it's the aspect ratio of the screen is a bit more widescreen, and I don't like that. I kind of like the more regular, taller look, if you like, of the Mac laptop screen. But I was kind of going, man, that's a big difference. I weighed both laptops because I'm just like that.
Crazy like that.
Right? My Samsung was a nudge over a kilogram. All right. The MacBook Air was 1,250.
250
so that's an extra
grams in the difference.
250 grams in the difference. And, when you're hauling those things around all day, every day, you will notice that difference.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Anyway, I just thought it was funny. But other than that, I mean, the MacBook Air, it's a great little laptop. I couldn't recommend that deal enough. That's 800 quid for a really, really high-end MacBook. Black Friday, Christmas is coming. You got to think about presents for the kids, for your nearest and dearest and all that kind of. Anyway, I digress. Other stories this week. Digital Public Services Plan. Ireland has a plan, and it's kind of taken a bit of a twist, and you like it.
Well, I mean, not kind of twist. I mean, whenever you hear government say there is a plan, I mean, you immediately just roll your eyes. It's not the most inspiring thing to hear. You're just waiting for a day and time when somebody will go, "Hey, remember there was a plan." But apparently there is a plan to fully digitize our public services by 2030. So keep that year in mind when we're talking about it and going, "Hey, the plan came to fruition exactly as we thought it would." So what they are doing with the revamped digital service is that they're not looking, at your age so much, right? Like when you apply for something, what's your date of birth, that kind of thing. And, let us assemble things based on that. What they're looking at is what they're calling key life events. And I think this is interesting because we organize our life around key events, but people are generally getting older when they're hitting milestones like, owning your own home or starting a family, things like this. People are doing them at an older age than they used to. People most likely in the future won't retire at 65. We'll have to hang on potentially into our 70s. Yeah. If you're, self-employed like yourself or a journalist like myself, it's not unheard of to never stop working. That's just the way it is in our professions. So I think organizing it around life events, you can even, imagine it in your head. It's like, I want to apply for, child benefit or something like that. You just log in and, you're like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And then the system will just guide you through from one end to the other. I think it's nice. I think it sounds like a project that has put the user experience at the center of it. I think that's really nice. I think there's always that kind of mental thing in the back of your head of, have I waited too long to do this particular thing? I know it's a generational thing at the moment. So I think just focusing on the event as opposed to your age, I think it's a nice, I'm not even going to call it a wrinkle. I think it's a nice approach. What do you think?
I think that's a really nice approach. And one of the things that came into mind was we were living on our road for 4 or 5 years or something like that. Knew nobody.
Yeah.
Then we had a baby, and then all of a sudden we knew everybody. Because it was one of those kind of life stages. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh my God. And maybe it's the same if you have a dog. And now I'm comparing children to dogs. But anyways, that's how I roll. What I think is interesting about the government side of things is, number one is 5 years. Are they really going to do it? We'll wait and see. I think it's a really good idea doing it around the life side of things. It's very convenient. The fact that you can interact with all the public services that you need to do is fantastic. I fully support that. But based on my experience in almost every single circumstance, the way it's been designed is pants.
Ooh, shots fired.
It's just like, if you want to do stuff with, kind of revenue online, it's kind of like, it looks really basic or, I don't know. And then I had to do something else recently with social welfare or whatever. And then just the whole login. It's like, oh, it's really easy. All you have to do is, and then the 17 steps. I was trying to go through this and I go, I'm a tech head. Do you know what I mean? This is the kind of stuff where I go, yeah, no bother. And I was trying to figure it out. I was kind of going like, kind of, what if a parent or somebody was trying to figure that out? They wouldn't have a hope. So there's just something about, I don't know what it is, about big organizations. I find banks can be the same. Online banking can just be a disaster. However. As I say, I think it's a great idea and I wish them the best of luck at it. Let's move on then. Other big story of the week, of course, Cloudflare.
In a sense, I mean, it's really unfortunate that we have to put Cloudflare this far down the running order, because something happens that takes down 20% of the internet and it's not even headline news. This is what AWS has done for us over the last month. They had their freak out and everything went down. Earlier in this week, Cloudflare, for reasons, if you go through X, you'll find out what happened. Basically, they have been using Rust. They started using Rust 53 days ago, and then this happened. Draw a straight line, if you will. But, I mean, everything was down. We were down. Your websites were down. X was down. Spotify was down. The terminals in McDonald's, they were down.
No, say it's not true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just goes to show, I mean, a comparatively short-lived outage, 2 hours, I mean, that's a long time on the internet, but all the same, with, the engineers were able to get back online. I thought the level of communication was okay if you went on to their progress tracker. They were reasonably good at saying, engineers are working on this, we have some mitigation in place. That was all useful. You were also able to see that earlier in the day, they'd been working on data centers in Tahiti and Atlanta. So it's not like there was nothing else going on. I have a feeling that somebody knocked over a domino somewhere and it just had this cascading effect. But that's it. I mean, the good news is that it wasn't a cyber attack. But once again, it throws sunlight on the fact that we rely on a very small number of infrastructure companies to keep the web running.
Really small. So AWS, Amazon Web Services that we had down, it was only a couple of weeks back. Yeah. That had a huge effect. And then, of course, CrowdStrike, that was last year, wasn't it? Mm. That took out all the airport check-ins and all kinds of things. So you're right, yeah. And in almost every single case, it seems to be, it's a database issue. All right? Everybody is running out the door to go, it's not a cyber attack. It's not a cyber attack. Like, one day it will be, and we'll all go, oh, phew, thank God it's not a database issue.
At least we can believe them.
Now, of course, the other big thing as well as that is the tech bubble. That seems to be that anybody is talking about. Bitcoin, the amount of time you spend talking about Bitcoin, Niall Kitson, I'm beginning to think that you found a few online, or that you invested in them in like 2014 when they were like €1 each.
On.
And you've got a dozen Bitcoins sitting there.
Yeah. Like all normal people, I'm skeptical about crypto, especially in the last year, seeing what the Trump administration have done. Just by releasing meme coins and making billions out of them, selling off super quick, and then anyone left holding the metaphorical can lost everything. This is what happens. Yeah. They're pump and dump schemes. Now, I mean, there's more to it than that, but effectively, at the moment, the only people using crypto are speculators and criminals. Sorry, it's true. Dusty, I give you a Bitcoin. What are you going to do?
I'm going to go and celebrate. I'm going to celebrate for a start.
You're going to hang on to it.
You're going to hang on to it, yes.
So when we talk about tech bubble, we're actually conflating a load of stories together just for sake.
A load of stories. And Bitcoin, I think, is just like an indicator of it. But NVIDIA is, it's the poster child. It's the center of everything. And I think it's going to be something to do with NVIDIA, if not NVIDIA itself, is going to go wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and then everything's going to come tumbling down.
Just to finish off that point on Bitcoin, its value, the reason why we were talking about it was because its value went to $90,000 from a high of 130,000. So if you can imagine buying in at 130, thinking we're going to the moon, you're in a bad mood as of today. And, there doesn't really seem to be much that will get you out of it. I mean, this market runs on sentiment. A big chunk of it over the last year was, hey, Trump, and Trump's going to look after us. Trump has looked after himself.
As usual.
Pretty much it, as usual. How anyone would think otherwise is beyond me. But there you go. So the crypto market is entering bear territory. So that's why we were talking about that.
I think everywhere is entering bear territory, and that people are all starting to get afraid because it's been a very, very long run. And at the top of the market in the States at the moment, it's the Magnificent Seven, as they say. Do you know what I mean? It's Meta, it's Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia. They're all tech companies are propping up the majority of the American economy by the looks of it.
And it's a point that we've made before that these are circular transactions. Nvidia is buying OpenAI, is buying Microsoft. It's a finite number of companies buying off each other. Yeah, basically being able to write off massive deals. Yeah, because it's entirely circular.
A great example of it this week is Nvidia are investing in Anthropic. All right, and OpenAI, same thing. So NVIDIA are investing in OpenAI, and OpenAI are going to take that money and invest in getting new chips from NVIDIA. Yeah, to run their AI service. So it's kind of like, well, hang on a minute. It's going to fall somewhere along the lines.
Like with the first .com bubble, it was just the money ran out, and nobody was actually making it.
Well, I think it's really interesting now because a lot of the money that is being invested is coming from the massive cash reserves that these companies have. But they are also putting stuff out and getting loans, bond loans and stuff like that as well from the market. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. NVIDIA reported growth this week. saying, yeah, sales are up, yada, yada, yada. And that kind of kept the markets calm for the time being. However, there's other significant investors. It's SoftBank and Peter Thiel, who are dumping their shares.
Macro, that's his hedge fund.
Yeah.
They've dumped their interest. Of course, probably because they've got shares in OpenAI or something like that. They know they don't need to double up on their investment if they think buying into one thing is the exact same as buying into the other. Like, why would you hold two positions?
Anyway, what do you reckon? Is this tech bubble going to burst?
Look, I get so many press releases every week about AI companies, AI startups, and we know what the success and failure rate in business is at the best of times. And these aren't bad ideas. These are just companies that, either the timing isn't right or maybe they're not well run or whatever. And a good founder in AI at the moment is thinking about a good exit. Just develop your product, get Google to buy it, you'll be happy. Go back to the drawing board, find something else. I mean, that's the only way you're going to make money out of AI at the moment. Get good and sell.
We shall wait and see. Somebody else is falling for the AI hype is the president of the European Union.
Okay, and this is just an unfortunate story, which has led to a very significant pushback from the Irish Council for Civil Liberties. Now, this is what happened. President of the European Union, Ursula von der Leyen, did a budget speech to the EU Parliament, and basically she made mention of how superintelligence is coming, that we should be looking at 2030 for the point at which we reach singularity. She didn't use the word singularity, but you get the idea. And some people went, hang on, where did you get 2030 from? Because it's not really your area of expertise, And it turned out that her speechwriter relied on information, I'm going to use that term loosely, from the heads of Anthropic, OpenAI, and NVIDIA.
Oh, crikey. All right, yeah.
These were not unbiased views. This was unbridled optimism. She was inadvertently repackaging hype and marketing speak from a small number of companies, not
into an official speech.
The Irish Council for Civil Liberties subsequently pushed back. They actually published an open letter signed by 70 plus experts and academics, people that actually know what they're on about, saying, look, you can't just be saying stuff like this. This is not the state of the market. It's actually quite detailed. We have a blog post from Jason Walsh, because of course we do, talking about it on the site this week. Go have a look into the details there. But effectively, it's almost like somebody was given a brief to write a speech mentioning something, and they went off and they wrote a speech, and it's like, ChatGPT, give me some quotes about.
Yeah. And she's getting into trouble for it. Johnny Ryan has also been talking about the EU and tech and data and all kinds of stuff this week. And he's saying that the tech rules are just not being enforced, and that there's changes coming down the line that a lot of people are not happy with.
Yeah, this is kind of... Johnny Ryan is Director of Enforce at the Irish Council for Civil Liberties. So, and he is an expert in law and privacy. We should have him on the show, actually. He really is an exceptional voice in the field. He's an international standard expert. But he was talking about basically Europe's dissatisfaction with Ireland as a regulator. He was also talking about the fact that big tech might be left to regulate itself or to dictate the terms of its own regulation in Europe, basically because we can't keep up. And it's not a good situation. I'm not going to go any further into it on this because we're running out of time. But again, another example that it's not just countries that aren't satisfied with Ireland's attitude to big tech. We've got the ICCL as well, and of course they are leading the complaints process against Commission de Man over the process behind their recent hiring of the third data protection commissioner.
Well, listen, two more very quick stories before we get into our interview this week. One is a new deal from 11 Labs, who have announced that Matthew McConaughey and Michael Caine have licensed their voice to the service. So if you want to use Matthew McConaughey or Michael Caine's voice for your projects, off you can. Turns out Matthew McConaughey is actually an investor in 11 Labs. And what he is doing is he's allowing their AI voice replication service to replicate his voice and have him read his book in Spanish, which I presume he can't speak.
All right.
Yeah. Michael Caine just doesn't care. It's just whoever wants to use it, pay for it, off you go. They're not the first ones. Judi Dench, John Cena, Kirsten Bell and stuff of deals with Meta. But it's just interesting that more famous people are doing it. Final story on AI. There's a bit of news today about how people treat AI in comparison to real people.
This is funny. Now, I'm sure you've seen it, particularly amongst, I'm going to say, older people. They start treating their digital assistants like regular people. They get annoyed with Alexa. They don't get annoyed with their Amazon Echo.
You want to come into our house? Oh, very annoyed, yeah.
Yeah. You start treating them like people. Similarly with AI, one of the biggest wastes of energy in AI is people saying thank you at the end of a query, and it turns into this, no, you hang up. No, you hang up. Like, all of this costs energy. Stop it. Yeah. But a study from Trinity College has found that people treat AI in the exact same way they would treat somebody of the same gender that the AI is presenting with, right? So if an AI is presenting as a woman, people would treat them as if they were a real woman, and similar with men, right? And unfortunately, that means that people are bringing their biases as well. And what sort of, in thinking about this, how to sort of picture it, I mean, when I was growing up, the thing was always, women drivers. Women drivers were terrible at driving, not good at it.
Can I just insert a quick, Continue.
You think I'll offend Siri when I say this or something like that?
I know it.
But it was a casual and acceptable bit of joshing coupled with genuine frustration. People are bringing that level of interaction to AI. So perhaps if somebody is getting a hallucinated answer from AI, they'll start thinking, typical female AI. I mean, for God's sake. This is the kind of thing we're looking at. So, as the principal investigator, first author, Sebeda Bazazi in Trinity College said, as AI becomes part of everyday life, our findings that gendered expectations spill into human-AI cooperation underscore the importance of carefully considering gender representation in AI design. For example, to maximize people's engagement and build trust in their interactions with automated systems. So does this mean that all male teams are going to have a male AI? All female teams would have a female AI? I don't know, Dusty.
I should hope not. I mean, as you're saying that, I don't have any gender bias or distinction when it comes to these smart speakers or AIs or things they're all bloody stupid. All right. And it doesn't matter what the voice is, they drive me nuts. And anybody who's trying to, get Siri to play a particular album or something like that will tell you the same thing. If I'm speaking to Alexa and I'm asking it to play a particular piece of music or a radio station, whatever, they always get it wrong. It's like, oh, good God. Oh, one of the silly things, and maybe it's just the way I have it set up, but, if I want to turn the lights on and off in the living room, I have to say, please turn on the lights in the living room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, this is 2025 going on to 2026. I should just walk in and go, yo, turn on the lights. And it's done. No. You see, I'm only talking about it, Niall, and already you can hear the frustration coming out.
Blood pressure is through the roof.
Oh, stop. I can't take the news anymore. It's all too much. So we'll draw a line in the sand there, shall we? As Ivan Yates would say. Draw a line in the sand. Thank you for everything and keeping us up to date with what's going on now.
Delivering Irish tech news since 2006. This is Tech Radio.
AI won't take your job, but someone who can use it will. That's a phrase that we hear a lot. However, it's something which poses unique problems in education, where academics and teachers are worried that students are missing out on learning the core skills of reading, writing and mathematics. So what else can AI be used for in classrooms, lecture theatres or workshops? Dr Hazel Farrell is academic lead for Gen AI at SETU, and she had a chat with Niall Kitson about a different kind of teacher's aid.
So first things first, Hazel, just tell us a little bit about Gen AI N3 and where the project came from.
So Gen AI N3 originated from the NTutor project. This was national funding for resilience in the technological university sector. And when the wider NTutor project was launched, we hadn't come across Gen AI through our OpenAI launch of ChatGPT yet. So there was no funding in the package for that at all. So it was very much a retrospective thing where we had to come in late in the project and put in an application to try and divert some of the funding over there. And what that did was it allowed me to come in and spend a few months setting up the network and doing the groundwork, and then recruit people, I suppose, in the different technological universities across the sector to come and join me. But in reality, it really meant that everybody was only in place from September to December of 2024 before the funding actually ran out. So it was a very concentrated period of time, but within that period of time, we were able to achieve so much that the potential of the project really sort of stood out.
And when you're talking about other people that you had involved there, so were you looking primarily at people within the computer sciences?
Not at all, not at all. So we were looking at technological university sector. So we had all of the partners, and that included IADT and DKIT as well as the technological universities. And the representatives from each of those different institutions came from such diverse backgrounds that it really added to the project. So for instance, I come from a music background. We also had graphic designers. We had people who specialised in postgraduate studies. We had social science people, and then we did have the computer science people and also instructional designers in there as well. So we had a very healthy multidisciplinary mix in there, and that was wonderful because it brought so many different skill sets to the table.
It's something that we see in secondary school is that for the longest time, progress in learning about technology was generally driven by one or two evangelists within the school that ended up having to drag people with them into modernity. Is that something that you're finding at third level?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've got pockets of fantastic activity going on throughout our universities. And what we were really trying to do with the national network was we were trying to bring that together in a sort of a coordinated way so that we could draw on each other's resources. You know, because as you can imagine, there's an awful lot of duplication going along and a lot of wasted time, I suppose, as well. And we actually don't have the resourcing within our institutions for us to be duplicating work like that. So the sensible thing was that we would start to create open resources that we could all use. And the other main problem in our own universities is that a lot of the resources we were building were tied into the VLEs, and that meant that they weren't accessible or useful to anybody outside of our institutions. So we wanted to tackle that, and that's why with the network we decided that anything we produced was was going to be open, and any of the training programs we devised were going to be available freely internationally as well as nationally for others to take the templates and adapt them as they saw fit and so on. So really it was about getting that sort of collaborative piece going.
It's fascinating that the challenges you were meeting was a function of technology as well as content, pushing them together. Was that something that you foresaw when you were putting this together, or was this something that when everybody was working together, it was a case of actually your system doesn't work with mine?
Well, we found out because we were developing a lot of resources ourselves within SETU. And the thing about SETU is that, as you possibly know, that's an amalgamation of Carlow, Waterford, Wexford, and we haven't made that full transition yet. So we're still actually operating two different VLEs. So Waterford campus, we're on Moodle, whereas Wexford, Carlow are using Blackboard. So we had experienced the issue before we went out into the national network, because we couldn't share between our two different our different campuses. I suppose we were having issues ourselves. So yeah, we knew it was going to be a problem.
And let's have a look at the content end then. I mean, in selecting what sort of material to be shared, were you thinking of Gen AI for beginners, or were you thinking, look, there's people going to be at the cutting edge of this. Let's get some. Let's lean towards the academic. Towards academic papers, towards cutting edge research. You know, where did you find that balance?
Well, we had different people, as I said, with different skills. So we did have specific people working on postgraduate resources. We had others specifically working on teaching and learning, and then we were able to branch out from there. So, and with the training, we started at ground level, where our AI play is one of the concepts that we use. And that's like a safe space for, staff and for students indeed to come along and say, listen, I haven't a clue. I'm totally overwhelmed. I'm really stressed about this. I don't know what to do. I can barely even use my own phone. So it's to give people that space. And our level 1 of AI play was exactly that sort of beginner level, saying, what is AI? What can I do? Give me some simple tips about it. Then we moved to level 2, which specifically focuses on assessment and assessment redesign, restructuring, and so on. And at the moment, we're also rolling out training for what we would call PMSS staff. So that's like professional management and support staff and admin and things like that. So it's more operational and behind the scenes. So we're trying to support the full community as best we can, but it is multifaceted, because AI is not just about teaching and learning. It's permeating all of the different functions across our universities.
And I think it's something that a lot of organizations are finding is that trade-off between learning how to get the most out of AI in your workflow, choosing what tasks you can automate, versus the point at which you're substituting your own expertise for systems. So we're kind of entering into this sort of phase of having to become AI literate, in the sense that we had to become computer literate, 25 years ago plus. So this is very much the same kind of experience you're having then in dealing with that sort of sandbox environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And, there's a lot of discussion at the moment about AI literacy, and there are people who are rejecting the term, saying, what does that actually mean? And is it not AI fluency or AI competency? So there's a lot of discussion going on around the terminology. But essentially what we're talking about is that people can come from an informed position. And I'm talking about educators, students, industry professionals, all of the rest of it, because it's having the information gives you that strength then to make your decision, and gives you the clear insight as to whether actually should I be using AI for this task at all? Is it appropriate in this circumstance? And also to make sure that there's awareness around all of those challenges, because there are huge challenges. And I think what we're really about is not, just advocating the use of AI for everybody and that, we're pushing it onto people. That's not it at all. What we're trying to do is give people the knowledge, give people the information so that they can make the decisions and they can determine whether it is appropriate. And, when it comes to things like operations and behind the scenes and, automating systems and data collection and things like that, you do have to think about whether, using the AI system and then that balance between the human oversight of it, is this more work in the long run? Would I have been quicker actually to just do this myself? Because the human oversight is 100% necessary.
So let's bring this into the classroom. How are you seeing lectures dealing with generative AI at the moment? Is this a matter of reorganizing a body of information they already know or have participated in generating? Or is it a matter of sitting down and going, okay, digest the following textbooks for me? I mean, what are we seeing?
Look, it's very mixed, and the digital divide, as we call it, has really, really become more pronounced because we have some people who are rejecting it outright for their own reasons, and some of them are very, very valid. And it could be a mixture of fear, could be, ethical concerns, it could be environmental concerns. There are loads of different things, but others are embracing it wholeheartedly. So we're seeing very much a mixture in terms of approaches to incorporating AI. In my own classroom, I would be an early adopter because I'm very much about student engagement initiatives. So I brought AI into my classroom straight away because I felt that we needed to have those transparent conversations with students and bring the students in as partners in the learning here. And indeed, lots of the students are ahead on this and we can learn from them. So I use it in my teaching and assessment practices. And I've found from my experience that it has sort of really reinvigorated what's going on there, and it has enhanced engagement because the students are invested in what they're doing. And an example of that, for instance, would be, I said to my students a couple of years ago, look, we're not going to be writing an essay here. Let's throw it all up in the air and I'll hand it over to you. What sort of assessment would you like to do? So they chose different multimedia type of assessments, including podcasts, blogs, infographics and video presentations. And then together, we used AI to work out marking rubrics because I just put my hand up and I said, well, I've never assessed a blog before. I don't know what to do. So together we brainstormed and made up our marking rubric for our blogs, for our podcasts. And then we got AI to do the same. And we did this sort of comparative type of evaluation. And we came up with a hybrid model after interrogating the AI output. So they're the types of things that, we are doing. And at the moment, I have a group of pedagogy students who are designing teaching resources using AI, and then they're reflecting on sort of the journey. They're presenting the resource that they've developed using AI, and then they're going to submit a reflection as to whether it was worthwhile using AI at all, if the product they produced is superior or not, and just documenting the whole sort of journey and experience with it. So we have those sort of things going on, I suppose, as well.
That element of self-assessment, I remember my own time in college, it was something that was being toyed with as a way for people to recognize their own level of participation, whether it was, maybe over exuberant or perhaps a bit reserved. In inviting students then to participate in how they were going to be assessed, did it open up avenues for yourself for thinking, do you know what, maybe this is the way to go across the entire university?
Well, I definitely think it's the way to go. And from the feedback, surveys afterwards, students were coming back saying, oh, I finished the assignment a week before it was due. I've never done this before. And their feedback was that they enjoyed the fact that they had sort of some sense of autonomy over what they were doing. they had a say, they had a voice in what they were doing, and therefore they were more invested. And also, the thing about the outputs they created is that they were also outward facing. So lots of assessment is just inward facing, and nobody sees it other than the staff member and the student, whereas this was outward facing, and they put all the outputs into an e-zine that they designed themselves, and then were able to present it for our university community. We were able to stick it up on the website, and it was something they were really proud of and they could stand over. So I think that type of approach has to be good, but I'm not naive enough to think everyone is going to buy into that in the university. And that has to do with different disciplinary approaches, different learning outcomes people have to meet and things like that, so it's possibly not realistic either with a very large number of students.
I imagine it would work particularly well in the creative fields like music, like graphic design, where you do want your work to be seen, even if it's still, you're not quite at the stage of finding your own voice. It might be slightly different when it comes to the sciences, where people almost don't want to be seen to be making mistakes. Do you think that's something you're going to be butting heads with?
Possibly. And, even within the university, I chair the steering committee for AI, and we've been involved in drafting guidelines for staff and students and putting out position statements and things. And I know from dealing with staff and sitting on academic council there are so many differences across the university and challenges because, I suppose our guidance ends up having to be sufficiently broad that it can apply to everybody, but staff really want very specific guidance, which is not a thing we can do when we're rolling it out in a very general sense, And it's the same with students. Students just want you to tell them what to do, and you can do this or you can't do that. But the problem with AI is that if I go into a classroom and say, none of you are allowed to use AI, how do I actually enforce that? It's unenforceable, and therefore it's not really valid. I can't be doing that. So my option then is to redesign and take a new approach to what I'm doing.
One of the issues we're seeing with AI is sort of the toll on people's mental health, that it's not just a tool that ends up enabling you to do different things or to create pieces of music. It's also something that potentially comes with a fairly significant downside. What kind of resources are you looking to develop to help students sort of deal with those additional pressures?
In terms of resources, at the moment, we're at guidance stage where we're putting out, little videos, we're doing infographics, just little things that'll appear on screens throughout the university and stuff like that. We're also rolling out training, and we have a new student AI committee that's working as a working group off of our main steering committee in the university. So that's been led by our student union representative, and he's going to populate it with, students that have sort of an interest in this. And I think through groups like that, we'll be able to sort of identify and respond to their needs. But right now, it's just about flagging the dangers and the challenges. And they are real. I mean, we all saw when, ChatGPT 4.0 was replaced by 5, and there was like an outpouring of, sort of emotion about how people had lost their best friend and people referring to it as mother and things. I mean, that's scary. That's actually very scary. And how addictive it is as well. And yeah, people can say that it helps me, I'm very lonely. Now I have someone to speak to, but you need to be very, very careful about this.
Of course, there are other problems that come with generative AI, top among them being hallucinations, bias, misinformation. I imagine these are things that are top of the list when it comes to teaching people how to use it, that look, for coming up with ways how to do something, yep, that can be pretty good. If you're looking for information on its own, check and recheck.
Yeah, 100%. I think one of the most valuable exercises you can do with your students is get them to critically evaluate an AI output. And I've done that several times with my students. And it's brilliant because they are learning themselves as opposed to me telling them, and when the learning comes from themselves, it's far more meaningful. And we do things like, for instance, if you stick in a prompt and then to outline an assessment for a university classroom, whatever, but then if you add Irish university classroom to your prompt, all of a sudden the cultural stereotyping just clicks in immediately, where it turns into the rolling verdant hills and the plains and the whatever, so like you can do that with any of the different cultures and you'll see it straight away, and I think allowing the students to experiment and find this out for themselves is really, really important.
And that was Dr. Hazel Farrell from SETU chatting with Niall Kitson.
This is Tech Radio with Dusty Rhodes and Niall Kitson.
That's it for our show this week. Do check out some other stories online that we couldn't squeeze into the podcast, including...
We're looking at how one wind farm in Mayo is powering potentially billions of phone calls. 2 Irish edtech companies take on the grinds economy, and why it's a good time to be a CISO if you want to make some money.
Those stories and more, as always, online at techcentral.ie. We're back again next Friday with a brand new show online and, of course, with RTE Radio 1 Extra. In the meantime, please do share our podcast with a friend. If they're into tech and what's going on in Ireland and around the world, just tell them to look for Tech Radio Ireland on Apple, Spotify or YouTube. Until next time, from myself, Dusty Rhodes, and from Niall Kitson, thanks for listening. Have a great weekend.
Remember, you can get the latest Irish tech news with hourly updates, daily newsletters, and more at our website, techcentral.ie. Share the knowledge and invite a friend to listen. Search Apple, Spotify, or YouTube for Tech Radio Ireland, or listen with RTE Radio 1 Extra. Tech Radio is produced by dustpod.io for techcentral.ie. From me, Artemis, live long and prosper.